Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Brett Shotkavis, and we are talking about all things assisted living investing. So today we have a great show. We are talking about the most powerful number when you're gonna start your own assisted living. The most powerful number is how many beds to have. So we're gonna break this down. Why do I love 16 beds? How many beds should you have, and why should you have it? So let's talk through these things because, like I said, having the right number of beds is the most powerful number. It can change your profit and your business in the most dramatic of ways. So it's not necessarily your bed rates. Your bed rates are important. It's not your cost of food. It's not what you're paying your caregivers. The number one thing that will have the biggest impact on your finances and your business is how many beds you have. It is the most important thing to consider because it will drastically change your income. It can double or triple your income versus, again, cutting costs on food or utilities or staffing will make such a minimalist expense compared to the flow of income that you can have. But sometimes there's too big of a bed and sometimes there's too small of a bed. So let's talk about these kind of things because I think 16 beds is the perfect number. 16 is perfect for me. And I think that there's too small. There's clearly too small, right? Like 4 beds, whoa, that's way too small. I think 6, 8, 10, I think those are way too small because you're not gonna be able to bring in enough income. And because you can't bring in enough income, you can't have the proper staffing that you want. So now it affects not only your income, but it also affects your quality of care, right? Which again makes it harder for you to sell your beds and to provide a great product. So I think too small is a problem. But on the flip side of that coin, I think too big is also a problem. In this post-COVID world, nobody wants to be where there's 100 beds or 60 beds or even 40 beds, perhaps even 20 beds. I think all of those are too big. The model has shifted. There is a generation that is now sick of the nursing home vibe, those 1960s, 70s, 80s buildings that are single story with those long, gross hallways. They have the 8-foot ceilings, and they're like in like the Billy Madison movie, right? They're nasty. There is a group of people who despise those things and say, I will never want to be in them. I never, they make their daughter swear, never put me in a place like that. So there's clearly like a negative stigma to that, and the market has shifted. It changed. And people now don't want these things. Even the big ones that they're building that are luxurious and new, and by me, they're building these big 4-story ones that are, independent living on the top couple floors and then assisted living on the first floor with a little memory care wing. They still feel sterile and hospital-like, and no one really wants to be in those, right? So I think that's too big. Now, even if you're too big, you have that many beds, that is not guaranteeing success because I really don't think that you can sell those beds because the product is now something that people don't want. So I think it's really a fine line. There is a balance as you're talking about how many beds should I have, because too small and you're not gonna have enough income, but too big doesn't increase your income. It just means you have beds that are empty because I don't think that product can really sell the way that it used to be able to sell. So let's talk about why I think 16 is the perfect number. Because for me, I think of it as a combination of two things. I am finding the sweet spot between my income and my product. And what I mean by that is with 16, I can have an income above $100,000 a month. Meaning if I have $6,250 a month as my average bed rate, times 16, I'm at 100K, right? And I think somewhere around that range, somewhere around 100 is a great, great number. Now you can obviously go higher, but a great number to be able to have a fantastic profit and have a fantastic product, because you have to have both. Just because you can charge a high amount doesn't mean your product's gonna be great, and doesn't mean you're gonna continue to make sales 1, 2, 5 years from now as your reputation suffers. So I think that this number allows for the sweet spot of having multiple caregivers around the clock. It allows for the chef. It allows for multiple managers. It allows you to do and afford all the things that can allow you to have a beautiful and great product and build a great reputation and build a wait list. But it allows you to afford that and have a profit. Where if you're too small, you can't afford those amenities. You can't afford those staffing. You can't afford the layers of management between yourself as the owner and potential problems. So I think that this is the sweet spot. That's 16. So let's talk a little bit more about this, because a lot of people talk about caregiver ratios. And I think this is an important conversation because a lot of people are saying, well, I have one caregiver to 6 or one caregiver to 8 or one caregiver to 15. And then you go to some of these bigger, old, smelly facilities and they have like a 1 to 15 ratio. And again, that's why they can't sell their beds. They have bad care. But I think that a 1 to 8 staffing ratio, meaning that one caregiver for every 8 grandmas and grandpas, is a great number. And I think that if you are having a different ratio, let's say you have potentially 6 residents, right? I think that one caregiver can take up to 8. So there is potential income that you're leaving hanging there, right? So let's just say that if you had, 6 residents, you could potentially have 8 and that one caregiver could take care of them, meaning this 1 to 8 ratio. If you had 14 residents and 2 caregivers, you could potentially have 2 more. And I think that you can still provide great care with 16 instead of 14 with the same amount of staff, right? Your expenses are going to be fixed, but your income, you're leaving income on the table there that you're not maximizing. So that's where I think I like this application of this 1 to 8 ratio, because I think it will maximize all your potential income to really flow through to your bottom line, because your expenses are going to be the same. Whether you have 1 caregiver, 2 caregiver, 10 caregivers, right? That ratio is going to be the same, but you're potentially leaving income off your balance sheet and potentially, not maximizing your profit. So let's break this down a smidge more, because you could therefore argue that an 8-bed is just as profitable or just as good as a 16-bed. And I am a huge proponent that 8 beds don't work. And here's why. Realistically, when you take away theory and you're actually there and you see it firsthand, you've been running it for years and you have to work a shift yourself, that one caregiver reasonably cannot take care of 8 people. There is something special when having 2 people there, because it's not, there's always issues. There's always like, hey, there's some little problem here and you need 2 people to go take care of it, and then you can go back to the floor and have a nice flow. Like if somebody falls, okay, and there's people who are very heavy, if they fall and they're dead weight, you cannot have one 25-year-old lady pick them up. She physically can't get them off the ground, right? Like you need 2 people to do it. And if you are running 8 beds and you have 2 people, because you need 2 for those instances when things go wrong, and they happen frequently enough, if you have 2 people, now you are literally losing money, right? You've left so much margin on the table because you're paying for 2 caregivers. You've doubled your staffing, but you have not doubled your income. So that's why I think that a 1 to 8 with this 8-bed is not good. I think that there's a good chance you might break even or make a little bit of money, but you're not really being profitable. So that's why I like taking this 1 to 8 ratio with 2 caregivers and 16 residents. Now you may say, okay, well, that's cool. I can see how that makes sense, but why can't we even go bigger than that? Why can't we take this 1 to 8 to a 3x multiple? And now let's bring in 24 grandmas and grandpas with 3 staff, right? Like that's got to be even better. And I think it's not. I think that going back to this idea of too big is bad, I think that's when you start to get into it. 16, I can reasonably say that as I am touring people and my families are hanging out there and we're doing Christmas and Easter and everything together, it's small enough, it's intimate enough that it feels like a family. And if you start getting into 24, it doesn't feel like a family, it feels like a facility. And 16 bedrooms, again, when you have hallways, you have a hallway of 8 on one side, a hallway of 8, I think that's kind of pushing it for getting into that gross like facility feel with a 50-foot hallway. But now you add another hallway or even longer hallways. If you had 24, now you're talking like 12 beds on each side, and it's just gonna feel like a hospital, feel like a facility, and you're gonna change the whole dynamic. So I like 16 for both of these kind of reasons. One, that it feels homey, it feels family-like, and because I wanna avoid this hospital, this facility-like. And then the building is the other reason. The building can still feel like a mansion, right? This is just a really, really big house. Like some baller built this thing, and there's a bunch of grandmas that moved into it instead, right? Like that's what I want it to feel like. So I can do that with 16, but I can't with 24. I can't with 32, right? There is a diminishing effect to this ratio here. So that's why I think this 16 bed, right? You can take that 1 to 8 and you really maximize it. You're not too big and you're not too small. But what if you wanted to scale? What if you want to do a bigger deal, right? What if you were looking at like, hey, I want to build some big old facility and have 64 beds, right? I would say don't do 64 beds. Instead of that, I would do 4 16 mansions, right? Build 4 next door to each other, 16 bedroom mansions. Maybe they're like we're building, right? We're building 4 of these that are 10,000 square feet, and they're like next door neighbors to each other. They're not actually like right next to each other. They're 55 feet away, and we're building this on 8 acres. So it actually feels like a custom neighborhood of assisted living mansions. And I think that whether you want to do, if you want to do 64, if you want to do 32, I think that is a fantastic way to scale because you can save a lot on staffing. You can insulate yourself with multiple managers, with the chef, especially with the chef. If one calls out sick, you have somebody there next door, right? There is so much advantages to doubling or tripling or quadrupling these ratios and having 2 mansions or 3 or 4, right? Build a little pocket neighborhood of these things. That's how I went and scaled it. I started with 1, and then I'm like, man, you know what? When my staffing calls in sick, I wish I had another building to pull someone. I wish I could hire a floater. And then I'm like, why can't I just do that? Why can't I build a house next door to this, right? Why can't I build my own neighborhood and just start from scratch and make a whole little pocket neighborhood of these mansions? And so that's what we're doing. And that's what I would say. If you wanted to take this ratio and say, okay, 16, you've got me. I think that's a great way to go. But I want to do bigger than 16, right? So do 32, do 64. Just do them in sets of 16. That's what I would say. So I think that the most important decision you can make when you are vetting a deal is not necessarily the price of the land. It's not necessarily what's my price per bed. All of these things are important, but what is the most important is how many beds can I have, right? Because too small is bad. Too big is also bad. And when you start looking at these smaller details, these smaller numbers of potentially what's my food cost? Am I paying, $16 an hour or $18 an hour, right? What's my overtime rate? Some of these numbers are so small compared to doubling or tripling your income. That is really where your profit comes in. It's not in squeezing the 6% out of these expenses. It's by increasing your income 2x or 3x. That's where the huge margin comes in. So if I can have any takeaway for you, if you're thinking about doing this, it's don't do something too small, don't do something too big, right? Those are too hard to sell, and small is too unprofitable, or I don't know if that's a word, but do the right size deal. And for me, that's 16. So I really hope that this helps you kind of gather up why I believe that this is the best. And go back and check the zoning podcast that I did, because you can do 16s anywhere, and I share how to go about that and how to talk to the city and how to do this. So I hope this is helpful for you. Keep following along on our journey, and we will teach you everything you need to know about building your own assisted living mansion.